Good evening. I'm currently on Sunderland Street, which was on the old eastern end of Bishopwearmouth. I'm going to visit at least 3 of the old burial grounds, which are actually quite close together, and you might not have noticed exactly where they are. See, that is the Bridge Hotel, the Bridge Hotel Vaults, a very historic hotel, pub, like house. Now just look at some of the ornate, old style decoration left on the outside. Billiards. As you look around, I love this old part of the town. Still got some of the old features and buildings. There's Villiers Street. We'll go back up there in a moment. I'm just going to come down here because this is the main reason I wanted to visit this site. But look at that. The Bridge Hotel Vaults, wholesale and retail wine and spirit stores. Look at the tiling on that. The spot I'm coming to used to be it was behind 148 High Street West. Oh, I didn't know I could actually get down here. Actually get to the exact spot. It doesn't look much here, but this was the first Religious Society of Friends burial ground in this particular area. It was opened in 1670 to bury Quakers and who were members of the Religious Society of Friends. I'll use the term Quakers because everybody calls them that, but technically it was the Religious Society of Friends. And because they were excluded from the local parish churches, they had to find their own burial ground. In some places in the northeast, you'll find them in gardens. Before this, there was one at Bolden, in a place I think it was Truitt's house, which was near the Red Lion, and they actually discovered those about 100 years ago. About 13 skeletons or so. So now it's just a car park. To give you some idea, we are. There's High Street East and Sand Street. Now, originally, this was pretty much the border between Bishopwearmouth and Sunderland, which were 2 separate parishes. So now we think of Sunderland as this great big city. If you lived here in 1820, at this point you'd say you were from Bishopwearmouth, and if you lived across there, that was Sunderland. So Sunderland pretty much stretched all the way from the top of High Street East here. At that point it was just the High Street. It didn't need to have an east or a west on it because there were 2 separate places. Eventually they joined together and it became this just known as Sunderland. It helped when there was the borough of Sunderland created. I think it was in the 1830s or so. So Sunderland stretched from pretty much this roundabout down to the docks and the sea and up to the town moor and back round and along to here. So it was basically, this burial ground was a yard behind this 148 High Street West. It was bordered by Garden Street over there, and in 1823 the Quakers actually moved from here across to the corner of Nile Street and Borough Road, and they had a new meeting house, and they also had a new graveyard. So this was left for another 100 years just as a burial ground. It was hidden behind buildings. You had to come into it through a lane, but as late as 1910 there was a stone which actually gave the following message on it. I'll read it out. Passed from death unto life, John verse 24, Friends Burial Ground, 1670 to 1823 with the message, Lord has been our refuge, Lord, thou hast been our refuge from one generation to another. But the people who were buried here didn't stay here, because in 1923 the local Quaker community decided to sell the land. So those that were buried here, there was 202 Quakers, and they were dug up, reinterred at the Friends Burial Ground, which, when Bishopwearmouth Cemetery opened in 1856, they created a part in the middle just for Quakers. So the 202 bodies were dug up, taken up there, and there is a little plaque, like a headstone up there, which remembers the event, because it was in April 1923 the 202 were taken there. Now, that wasn't the end of the story, because if you look over there, we have like this ring relief road which was put in the late 1980s. Now, when they were doing that, they actually discovered some more bodies at a deeper depth, so they were dug up. Now, also, just bearing in mind where we are, to the east of here there used to be a Baptist burial ground. They had the meeting house on Low Street, but they buried their dead. It just says to the east of this particular burial ground, so we're talking probably somewhere over towards High Street East, not that far away, because when they were building some shops there, they actually discovered some of the remains. So, what's that? And there's 2 burial grounds alone just in this particular area. Now we're just going to have a walk to another 2 of them, which are again close by. There is another one, which is the Quaker graveyard under the car park at Nile Street, but I've already done a video on that one, so we'll just head over to Villiers Street. And there you can see where there's some lovely restoration taking place from some of these old buildings on the High Street. Oh, I think there actually is. I've not noticed that before. That looks new, that. Oh, it's basically highlighting the fact that the work Quakers did for their anti-slavery campaigns. It's just up the top there, and apparently, the Quakers' own bin store was on that particular site as well. Just go around this corner. It's not that far. It's hard to believe that Villiers Street and Nile Street were where some of the great and the good used to live back in the day. When these houses were put up, there was doctors, there was Dr. Burns, he lived on here, local businessmen, but look at this, all this space in the heart of Bishopwearmouth. I believe they are going to build some houses on that. Nearly there. I'm going to do a video in itself on this next burial site because it deserves one. I'm just going to show you where it is. You've probably read about the Villiers Street vaults at the Bethel Chapel. Well, this was the site of it. I believe the vaults were at the back of the chapel, I did a story called The 10 Steps, which is in Sunderland history if you want to read about it. So you could literally jump over the back wall of this lane and go down this sort of like 10 steps and you would be in the vault. And there was over 400 people buried here who were members of that congregation, the Bethel Chapel. So again, I'll do I'll do a video on its own for that because there's a lot of information about that one. I've got one more to go to. It's quite a rundown street, Villiers Street. The actual second Quaker graveyard is just the bottom of Nile Street over there. So again, we've got the Nile Street Quaker graveyard, the Bethel Chapel vaults, the original Quaker graveyard, the Baptist graveyard, which was the top of High Street East, and now we've got one more, which is just behind here. Again, some lovely buildings over there. I think that's the St George's Chapel. And I'll tell you what, I'll show you some good example of some old Bishopwearmouth townhouses, just to give you an idea of some of the places where some of the people I write about lived. There it is. What a beautiful chapel that is. I think it was a Presbyterian one. There it is. These two here, number 30 and 29 Villiers Street. 3-storey townhouses, probably first half of the 1800s. Move back along here. So I think I've counted, is that five or six burial grounds literally within 400-500 metres of each other. There's a view across to High Street West. This is Coronation Street, which takes you from Sunnyside all the way down to the old Sunderland Parish Church down in the East End. Here we are, the final destination. Now those Baptists I mentioned earlier, in the late 1700s, they moved to Sand Street, which is this particular road over here. Now they actually had their own burial ground, which was to the rear of the chapel in Sand Street. And if you do on the internet, there's a good site which you can overlay which overlays like today over old maps. I think the Scottish Ordnance Survey or something like that. And when you do that over the old map, the old Baptist burial ground is just about there to the left of that yellow van. Now, there wasn't a great deal of people buried in this particular burial ground. And what happened was, by public order, all this cemetery, like the Quake one in Nile Street, were closed down because that was when the 3 new cemeteries were built. Sunderland Cemetery down Grangetown, Meehan Old Cemetery, and also Bishopwearmouth Cemetery. So what they wanted to do was to get away from these old fashioned types of places and improve sanitation and bury people out of the town in nice, lovely, modern cemeteries. So I will leave you there, but thank you very much for watching this. Just gives you some idea of some of the places that I've written about in my stories of some of these old burial grounds. There is a story on this on Sunderland history as well in Facebook if you want to have a look. Thank you very much. If you do like it, give it a like, click on the subscribe, and please share. Thank you very much.